Hey everyone, it's Adam aka Dari Bros. Today we are reviewing the Reading G1sa 462 Pacific. This model was imported by Overland back in 1996, I believe. These models came factory painted, at least most of them did. This particular one is number 105. These engines were really the premier passenger locomotive on the Reading up until the T1s, or at least the Pacific class was the big class for passenger engines up until the T1. There were also the G2s and the G3s, which were a little more modern. This particular model is a beautiful model with many separately applied details, and in fact I shouldn't even say many. All details are separately applied. You can see the air pumps on the side, steam dome in the center there, and to the left the dome is the sand dome. The sand dome, of course, was used in real life to provide traction to the locomotive. Sand would be applied to the track and it would help traction. This locomotive, of course, has the yellow striping of the Reading, which I think is just a very cool feature. These models are known to run extremely well. They feature front and back lights. I believe there may even be a cab light. Of course, full cab interior, and many other cool features that I'll go over here shortly. On the front of the locomotive, you can see the coupler here, which is a scale coupler. It does not operate. One of these days I'll go in there and replace it with a KD scale coupler, a semi-scale coupler rather. This looks really great though, and it does work with KDs. It's just a little finicky. There are flag stands right here. These stands right and the left. Right in the center there is the locomotive number 105. Has that slightly raised headlight, not raised all the way up at the top of the smoke box cover. I kind of like that location. It's very different, and the bell right on top of that. Definitely a different setup from many other locomotives. This has a boiler tube pilot. A boiler tube pilot was exactly what it is. It was made from boiler tubes, which I think is really cool. This locomotive, of course, would have run on anthracite coal, which is why you can see why it looks so wide. And you can see the taper on the cab here. I'll get a more side angle in a minute, but you can see the taper there, and that taper is for that huge firebox. Once again, you can see that very large firebox. You can see how wide it goes. I mean, it is all the way out here. It's past the running boards. It's really, really neat. You can also see the whistle on top here, dynamo, and a turret right here. This engine does not have a turret cover like some more modern engines do. The turret is where all the appliances would have gone on the real locomotive. Also, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying. I'm trying to use as much steam knowledge as I know to do these reviews and teach you guys something, hopefully, too. On the tender, you can see the very nice rivet detail. You can see it all along down here. There's a splash guard right here for the filling up the water in the tender. You can see the cab number, or the locomotive number, right there. Of course, it's that yellow lettering, which is so familiar for many Reading locomotives. Just a very cool feature. I do not know what this is. I've seen it on many other steam locomotives, but I do not know what that is. If anybody does, let me know. I'd love to know. One thing that I find very cool is in the cab, you can see right here there is a almost like a portal window, kind of like a steamship. I think that's really neat. Definitely different from many like square windows normal steam engines would have. The top of the cab does not have moving hatches. That's okay. Most brass locomotives do, but this particular one does not. One thing I lacked mentioning earlier, this model was built by G1sa. I don't think we've talked about Ajin thus far. Ajin is a very good builder. It's what Overland has used for years. And they are definitely one of the premier builders of Korea. On the engineer's side of the locomotive, you have a power reverse right here. There's an automatic train control box there. Many lines that run under the cab, which are just very, very neat. You can see some of the appliance lines right here, and I really like these wheels, how they have the black outside and the silver innards. That's a really cool feature. Actually, that is how those particular wheels looked in real life. They weren't quite like rounded like maybe like a freight car wheel, which I think is really, really neat looking. You can see the steam chest. The cylinders are straight here in this case, and how the exhaust doesn't really go through the board as much as some do, the walk board, whatever it's called. And you can just see the fine rivet detail on the rods, which is something neglected by many. And the beautiful lettering again. The lettering is just perfect. Here you can see the ultra-large firebox doors in the cab. Just a really neat cab. You can see how wide it is, and again those porthole windows. This is not the most detailed cab in the world, but it definitely does a good job representing it, and you can see the valves up here. So just and you can see some more stuff. I will go in one of these days and paint a lot of those valves. Unfortunately, again, this is a 90s models, and sometimes even in the 90s they were a little lazy and didn't do some of the fine touches that I would apply. Anyway, moving on, let's get this thing running. Finally, let's run the Reading locomotive and see how it operates. Before it runs off the table. Now once again, a very smooth locomotive. However, from my expertise in the brass locomotive field, I will say it is not as smooth as some of my other locomotives. It's a little more, there is a small noise that I can hear when going forward. Easy fix, I'm sure. This locomotive is really, really nice. One thing I did find inconsistent is it looks like there's two different lettering styles on the cab, slightly different. I'm going to look at that a little closer. Hopefully it's just my eye being tired or something, but you never know. This model really is a beautiful model. These models are abundant. They come up. Many are in the range $600 to $700. Once again, most of my models I'm showing you are in the range of the hybrid price range. And yet they're full brass models. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. Please leave comments, likes, and subscribe. I always appreciate any comments. I really do, and I'll see you guys in the next video.